And away from the equities market, they are back here in Africa. All is set for South Africans to go to the polls. Wednesday's general election could prove another pivotal moment for the country. But South Africans approach the polls with only muted optimism. Our President Cyril Ramaphosa inherited a country on the ropes and still struggling to get it right. Trinity Nkube, an economist there in South Africa, joins us now to tell us more on the expectations and the level of readiness for South Africans for this election. Good afternoon, Trinity. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me again.
So how optimistic are the citizens about Wednesday's election?
There are three scenarios that one can look at. One is if the ANC gets about 55 to 60% of the vote, that there will be some sort of policy reform, that Cyril will actually have some mandate in which he can, he actually has the mandate to to put his stamp down. So policy reform regarding things like ESCOM, your SOEs, and that the market would actually rally, where you have the strong rand, have some sort of policy certainty, and that the foreign and domestic investment would actually go on. And then the second scenario would be, well, if he doesn't get that 55% and above, then he's forced to do some sort of coalition, in which case, he doesn't have the outright mandate to do all these reforms. So now the coalitions, it becomes very difficult to put his stamp. So in that, we'll get more of the same. We'll get the squabbles. There will be no reforms. On top of that, the issues to do with corruption will still be an ongoing issue. So those are some of the scenarios. From my point, from where I look at things, whichever way, whether they get a majority or not, we're still going to experience slow growth going into the next 2-3 years. I mean, I don't see ourselves going over the 2% economic growth. So, okay. Yeah, so that's my view.
Okay. Now, before now, there has been a lot of protests and agitation across the country over the state of the economy. What do South Africans really want from whoever that wins this election?
Great. So we deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small businesses. So there's this concern that, with this democracy that we have, it's a bit tainted. It doesn't really show the clear picture of the well-educated South Africans who want to see the economy growing. So if you talk about the majority, then we say, okay, how informed are these majority, in terms of economic and financial literacy? How well do they know about the policies that the government puts in? So these are the concerns that we find from the small to medium business, people who really drive the economy, who grow the jobs, who create the jobs. So the ordinary men and women who are actually working and pay tax are very concerned about the trajectory. They feel that it's more of the same. If there are no reforms and there's corruption, the way that government does business with small businesses is just unacceptable. The people are very impatient. If I look at the youth particularly, with 60% unemployment, what's actually happening is that all those people are very frustrated with the progress. There is really no party here that has come out and given a mandate within all these manifestos to say, this is what we're definitely going to do for the youth. This is how we're going to create jobs. If there are, they're far and far between. So there are no radical economic, policy frameworks, if you may.
All right, thank you, Trinity. We will, of course, monitor that election and hope to talk to you after that election. Let's see who appears to be the winner. Thank you very much for your time.